All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants, giving you your post-Senior Bowl pre-free agency mock draft. I do 4 mock drafts a year. I don't go crazy. I'm not posting them on social media a ton. I do 4 a year. I do one during the bye week, so that's one of the 4 this year. This is the second one. So pre-free agency, we don't know what they're going to do in free agency, which guys they're going to bring back, and then it's post-Senior Bowl. So I will give you a little, like, it's a little bit Senior Bowl influence. It's not all Senior Bowl guys, but there's a good chunk of Senior Bowl guys on this. Just because those are the most players that I've evaluated so far, because that's where we were down in Mobile. So this will change quite a bit once you get the other 2 mock drafts. I do one April 1st to start off draft month, and then we do draft day mock drafts, which is our final. Like, we've watched all the guys we're going to watch. This is where we land for the New York Giants. I use NFL mock draft database for the simulator, and I just go by what they do. Usually I use Draft Network, but their draft machine is down. Also, I don't do trades in mock drafts. I use the slots that the Giants have, and I stick with them. I'm not going to make up trades, and the trades are kind of outrageous anyways. You know, you have trade offers for every single pick of the draft. Right now the Giants only have 9 picks. They could have 11 with comp picks, could have 10, but right now they have 9 picks, so that's what I did. So those are any other rules I want to get. Also, just some draft philosophy. In the first couple rounds, need absolutely matters. It's not everything. It's not everything. And for a Giants roster that needs talent, I'm just really looking for talent, but obviously need matters in the earlier rounds. Once you get to round 4 to 7, position, what the team needs, to me, really doesn't matter much at all. Like, it's about getting good players. That's how you have good drafts, is by getting, hey, this is the best guy on our board. Now, there's certain positions, like should the Giants be drafting an offensive tackle round 4? Probably not. Like, they've invested in Evan Neal. We have Andrew Thomas. I'm not a guy to really take quarterbacks at that point, even if the Giants were moving off of Daniel Jones, which they're not. So that's kind of some of the draft philosophies I have. But let's get into it. Round 1, pick 25. It's weird to be picking this late as a New York Giants fan. Usually we're, pick 5, pick 4, pick 11 at the latest. But round 1, pick 25, and I'm helping out my guy Wink Martindale, and I'm getting him a press corner out of Penn State, Joey Porter Jr. A lot of cornerbacks projected to go in the first round. Joey Porter Jr. fell to me in this. I think he's gotten better year after year. I liked his film last season going into the year, and I think he got a lot better. He only allowed 50% of his passes. Really wasn't targeted at all. He was targeted 14 times in the Purdue game, and 16 times the rest of the season in 9 total games. So he's just a long press corner who plays like it with confidence. And I think he's got good speed and athleticism. I don't think he's going to be a 4-3 guy or anything, but he's got length and he knows how to play press. He plays it with confidence to press into wide receivers, displacing them, funneling them to where he wants them. And especially if you're in like a cover 3, cover 1 type of system, he really fits that, and that's what Wink Martindale likes to run. At the end of the day, I think he just does a great job working from press and then transitioning to like playing as an in-phase corner. And even when he can get beat, I think he does a good job working into the catch space. Now, he is handsy, and he'll probably run into some penalties, but the more that I've watched corners, I don't stress about that. They're not going to call holdings all game. Like a guy like J.C. Horn a couple years ago, his grabbing was insane, and I'm sure he's gotten penalties, but like Joey Porter Jr. compared to J.C. Horn is a saint on the field when it comes to penalties. Areas of weakness that I see, when he is playing off coverage and wasn't a ton at Penn State, I think he does a bad job breaking onto the ball. It can kind of be flat-footed in zone where they will eat up that cushion, attack him, and then work the other way, and he'll get beat for in breakers where he's trying to protect the sideline most of the time. Obviously, part of that is Penn State, but I just didn't see enough burst out of his back pedal that although you see some good plays, he almost had an interception versus Purdue on a play like that. But I think he's very willing in run support. Can be a little inconsistent in there, but I think Joey Porter Jr. at 6'2", long arms, he's going to bring that mindset. Obviously, the son of Joey Porter, the linebacker for the Steelers, back in the day, who I grew up watching. So Giants need corners, and I think Joey Porter Jr. was the best player available for me here. The only guy that I thought about taking other than Joey Porter Jr. was Drew Sanders out of Arkansas, who there is a film breakdown on our other channel out now. I really like him, but I just felt more safe with Joey Porter Jr., and it is a position the Giants flat out need, and I think I probably could get better chance at getting linebackers later in the draft, and maybe you're just going to get that right now. All right, round 2, pick 57, and the Giants desperately need a Mike linebacker. Like I said, the previous pick, I almost picked Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. But with this pick, I am going Jack Campbell, a linebacker out of Iowa. 6'4", 243 pounds, racked up a ton of tackles the past couple years at Iowa, 265 over 27 games. A traditional Mike linebacker who knows the position in and out. He's a modest athlete. Like he's not going to kill you at the sideline speed like a Drew Sanders would. But he moves well for, not being the fastest guy, and he just has strength. He is great getting into offensive linemen's chests, stacking them, shedding them, and he just knows where to be. He's a high IQ linebacker who knows where to be on every rep, and that's why he racked up all those tackles. And tackles aren't always the best indicator for good linebacker play. But if you have good linebacker play, you're going to rack up tackles. So he's just a true technician taking on blocks, squaring up. Watch him versus Ohio State, who has guys like Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones, and he played really, really well. Showed some decent ability on the sideline stuff, and got made some good plays in those games. So, and in coverage, for a guy that's not the fastest, and the more I've learned about football, obviously you want to have the guys like Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, who can fly around or are just amazing in coverage. But it's more about playing the position right than it is just raw athleticism, and he does that in zone coverage. His ability to recognize route combinations and pass stuff off is great. Like he knows where to be at the right time, and he had some 4 interceptions over the last 2 years because of that. And he also reroutes tight ends getting off the line of scrimmage. Like he just knows where to be in coverage. Wasn't put in man coverage a ton except for covering the running back. I don't see him, being a guy you're going to put covering tight ends one-on-one, but I just think he's going to be a good player. So Jack Campbell, the Giants needed a true Mike linebacker, and I'm getting that with pick 57 in the second round. All right, round 3, pick 89, and we got to get some help on the interior offensive line. And I'm going with a guy that I did fall in love with down at the Senior Bowl, went and watched his film, just put a film breakdown out of him last week. Go check it out on the John Boy Media Football page. And that's TCU guard/center Steve Avila, 6'4", 330 pounds. I mean, he's a big dude. And he played at guard, center, and tackle for them. And for his size, I think his athleticism is really good, and it pairs with quick feet. If you go watch the breakdown, his feet are rapid, and his mirror ability is A1. And this was going up against Michigan, Georgia. Like, he did really well. I thought he had better reps versus Jalen Carter than Osiris Torrance did out of Florida, who's projected to be a late first-round pick. He just knows how to get into that full man relationship. He gets in, he jumps in, works independent hands. Really, really was impressed with his film watching him. A little bit of an older guy, a redshirt senior, but his hands come in low. They lock on, extend on arms, and then he's mirroring back and forth with defensive linemen. Really good stuff. In the run game, you're going to see some awesome stuff on down blocks. He can really extend and move guys. But there's more to be desired in the run game. I think he comes in a little too high, and when he's just working those single blocks where you're not working angles, he can just kind of get stalemated and get shed. I think he's got to really improve in that. That comes with technique. It's not a physical issue. He's got the athleticism. He's got the strength to do it. But again, he fires off, but he's just got to roll those hips and really block through the defensive lineman and not into the defensive lineman. But if you put him in some gap stuff, working down blocks, get him out moving in space, you're going to see some really good stuff in the run game too. So, and he works with really good patience getting to the second level. He's just got good feel for it. So needs to improve in there. But I think this is a guy who really did his best work against the best competition, playing guys in the semifinals in the National College Football Championship. So Giants, I might move him to center. I don't know. I'd probably work him at both and see where he best fits. But I'd probably give him a chance at guard to start. So round 3, pick 89, Steve Avila out of TCU. All right, round 3, pick 100. This pick comes over from the Kansas City Chiefs in the Kadarius Toney trade. And I'm using this pick to take a wide receiver. I'm taking wide receiver out of Iowa State, Xavier Hutchinson, who's 6'3", 210 pounds. Had 107 catches, 1,200 yards receiving for Iowa State this year. Now, I'm taking a wide receiver, which is arguably one of the Giants' biggest needs at the, basically a 4th-round pick. But I just had to go with the corner in the 1st round. It's going to be hard to answer the Giants' wide receiver 1 question, and I'm going to get... Little spoiler, there might be some other wide receivers taken in this later on. But I think getting Xavier Hutchinson here at the end of the third round, I think he's going to be a solid player. He's a big guy. I think he's a pretty good route runner. Actually, no, he is a good route runner at all three levels. Obviously, vertically, he can win his releases and stack. Now, he's not a burner. He's not a burner, but he had like a 50% contested catch rate, had a lot of contested catches over the last couple of years for Iowa State, so he can do that. And I think he's just subtle with his movement. He's good working leverage. If you're playing, press man, he's good at getting those releases and stacking the corner. If you're playing off, he's good at working leverage and breaking in on those quick routes, kind of like Hodgins did a little bit for the Giants this past season. But again, he's not that guy that's going to go burn and get you speed. But you add some size, which the Giants wide receiver room will need. And I just think he has good route running at all three levels. Now, where I think he can struggle is when he doesn't win the release. He has a hard time separating. And when he's playing some like serious off coverage, like guys 8-9 yards, and he's trying to work back to the ball on those type of routes, or separating at that, I think guys are able to break on him and get into the catch space. So I think that's where there can be issues. But when he's playing man, he consistently separates. Now, he's not burning you, but he can consistently separate versus man coverage at all three levels. And again, make some contested catch plays. And I think he'll give enough of a catch space for Daniel Jones and the Giants to want to be able to use him and attack with him. So I know the consensus on him is all over the place. I've seen some people say he's a second round pick. Saw him here, had to take him. So finishing off day 2 with wide receiver out of Iowa State, Xavier Hutchinson. All right, round 4, pick 126. Starting off day 3, and I'm going back to the offensive line. And I'm taking a guy who played offensive tackle, transferred from Vanderbilt to Alabama this past year, but I'm not drafting him to play tackle. Not at all. I want to move this guy inside, and I got to see him move inside at the Senior Bowl, and that's Tyler Steen out of Alabama, who's 6'5", 315 pounds. I think he had a fairly solid year for the Crimson Tide, but I just don't see him as a tackle in the NFL, maybe swing tackle at best, but I think he can be a solid guard. He's a good athlete, like good strength. His foot speed is fine. It's he doesn't have the quickest feet, like when we watch Steve Avila, he doesn't have like the quickest feet like that. But what I think is he's got the good athleticism and his balance is very good. So even when he has like mistakes, he has very good recovery reps in pass protection because he has that good balance and core to move with guys. And then in the run game, I think his footwork is solid. Like he rolls his hips through guys. Now, will he be able to be strong enough to move guys in the run game on the interior in the NFL? That is definitely a question mark. But I think his hands land well, good placement, and just has the ability to torque defensive linemen. Can get a little head heavy, but who doesn't, especially at this part of the draft. So definitely has some like techniques issues to work on. Like I can go through all, like he can lunge in his pass pro sets, but I think moving to guard, working there, growing there, no rush to start for the Giants. I think that can help, and I think this is just a position where the Giants do have a lot of people under contract for the interior. Obviously, Mark Glowinski, Josh Azudu, Ben Bredesen. You would think Gates or Feliciano, one of those guys, would be back. I just drafted Steve Avila, but I think it's a position where you kind of got to go throw darts at, and you see guys hit in those mid rounds, and a guy moving from tackle to guard. I think you can get value doing that. And I hate doing that for a lot of guys, but I got to see it at the Senior Bowl, and I was pretty impressed. So, I had this guy as like a third-round pick if he's at guard. If he's at tackle, I had him as a fourth-round pick, which I'm getting him here. So, Tyler Steen out of Alabama. All right, round 5, pick 158, and I feel like I'm getting a steal at this spot because I think I'm going to get a guy that's just going to be a solid NFL player for a long time, and that is Michigan State wide receiver Jayden Reed at 6 foot, 185 pounds. I actually had him on the midseason mock draft for the Giants. Went down to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. He looked like the best wide receiver on the national team, working outside and in, and he's done that throughout his career. Started out as a slot wide receiver and then was mostly on the outside the last couple of years while getting about 10 slot reps a game. And I think he's just someone who understands the wide receiver position and route running. If you give him cushion, he knows how to attack that cushion, work your leverage, and get deep and win at all three levels of the field. You press him up, he's not going to be the best guy dealing with press, but he knows how to get through it and stack wide receivers, and he can win deep. Not the fastest guy in the world for someone who's 6 foot, but he can win deep and stack and make some tough catches. And we saw that at Michigan State. We saw that at the Senior Bowl. For a guy that's 6 foot, like he had a very good amount of contested catches at his career in Michigan State. He's able to, work his body to get open. And I think that's just going to be a guy who's, again, he's not going to burn you, nonstop, but I think he's going to consistently work route running to give quarterbacks a friendly player who they can trust and work with timing on. So I just think he's going to be a solid guy. He's a feisty blocker. Now, he did have some drop issues in traffic. I think he had 7 drops this season. Now, 3 came in one game. But it is something where his drop rate has been around 7 to 8% his entire career at Michigan State. But I feel like I'm just getting a solid player here in round 5 for the New York Giants. So, Jayden Reed, wide receiver out of Michigan State. All right, round 6, pick 195 from the Chiefs in the Kadarius Toney trade. So, the Toney trade is now done. And again, I am getting a wide receiver. Kind of cluster drafting wide receivers. Part of that is we did a lot of wide receiver research going into the Senior Bowl. This guy wasn't at the Senior Bowl, but guess what? This man had 1 year production. Oh no, 1 year guy. But did he have production? Yeah. He led all of college football in catches, second in yards, and that is Purdue wide receiver at 6 foot, 188 pounds, Charlie Jones. Now, only played at Purdue for 1 year. He started his career at Buffalo and then a couple years at Iowa. They don't know how to use talent. It's pretty crazy. And then goes to Purdue and just totally pops off. Not very fast, especially for his size, but he knows how to get open consistently. Like, his releases are quick and efficient, and he has an ability to stack. Go watch him versus Joey Porter Jr., who we took first. Nobody challenged Joey Porter Jr. like Charlie Jones did, and Purdue was the only team that went at him, and a lot of it was Charlie Jones, and Charlie Jones had good production. He had good production against everybody. Now, he can struggle when getting pressed into the sideline, and I think like his releases are really good, but I want more hand fight out of him in those releases. But when he's playing versus zone coverage, he knows how to eat up cushion, work leverage, get open consistently. If you're playing off and he wants to go on curl routes, he gives you that vertical sell and fights back to the ball. And his route tempo and IQ, it's just he's like an A+ wide receiver versus zone coverage. But he's going to struggle to separate versus man coverage because he's not the best athlete in the world, but he's good at getting targets. He actually drew a few pass interferences in the games I watched, even against Joey Porter Jr. And for a guy his size, made a good amount of contested catches. And he's a hands catcher, will not drop the ball, had a 2.7% drop rate, which is like amazing. Like, you don't see that very often, especially for a guy that got all the targets that he got. And he's got ability to get yak, like he'll make a guy miss. You use him in the quick game. So he played all outside at Purdue for the most part. Probably has to move on the inside, and I know that's a theme and kind of frustrating because the Giants we need some outside receivers. I know I got Xavier Hutchinson earlier in this draft, but this is the 6th round. I'm trying to get a guy who I think is going to be a solid player, and I really do think Charlie Jones is going to be. I'm surprised he's being slept on. Maybe he'll grow in stature draft-wise as the process goes along. We'll see how he tests out at the combine. That could be a negative for him because he's not the fastest guy in the world. But I got a guy who knows how to get catches consistently, and that's Charlie Jones out of Purdue. All right, round 7, pick 219. This pick comes over from the Baltimore Ravens from the Ben Bredeson trade. The Giants swapped 6th and 7th round picks within that. And I'm taking a guy who caught my eye last year, actually playing next to Micah McFadden, and that's Indiana linebacker Cam Jones. He missed the second half of this season with a foot injury, but I really like him. He gets downhill. He's a strong, true Mike linebacker, and the Giants need depth there. Like, right now, under roster, they only have Mike McFadden, Darren Beavers. Obviously, I took Jack Campbell earlier in this draft, and I think the Giants will possibly address this position in free agency, but we haven't seen that yet. Again, strong Mike linebacker, gets downhill. I think he can be a speck slow sometimes in his run fits, but I think he's still learning the position. You see it in coverage too. I think he has the ability to be a good coverage linebacker. He's just not there yet. But we need linebacker help, linebacker depth. This is a position that always tests your depth. So round 7, pick 219, I'm going Indiana linebacker Cam Jones. All right, time to finish off the draft with round 7, pick 222. And I'm getting a guy I really, really, really like, and that is Purdue tight end Payne Durham. This guy's 6'5", 255 pounds, and this guy can work as an extra tackle. He can flat out block. He is an inline blocker. He is going to help your run game big time. He's just one of the best blocking tight ends I've seen in the last few years. I think his stock is going to rise because you're going to see that ability. And here's the downfall on him. He is slow. We saw him down at the Senior Bowl watching his film. He's slow. He's kind of a plotter when he runs. But he's put up a lot of production at Purdue. He had over 20 touchdowns in his career, and he catches everything that comes his way. And whether it's one-handed catches, having to extend, contested catches in double coverage, everything that comes his way. And he's got a good feel for zone, so he knows how to sit. So I'm doing my best to not be like, hey, people forget Jason Witten was slow. But, man, I want to make the comparisons because this guy can block like with the best of, like, might be end up being the best blocking tight end in the draft. I got to go watch guys like Darnell Walsh. I got to watch a lot of guys, but like I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up that way. And again, for a guy who's not going to be a receiving threat, I think he does well enough. And when you throw him the ball, he just contorts his body. He knows how to control his body and just catches everything that comes his way. Everything. So I'm a big fan of Payne Durham. I'm excited to see how his draft process goes. I'm sure he won't clock in and have a great combine, but I think he's someone who's going to add value to a team just because of that blocking ability alone. So, all right, so went pretty heavy defense in this. Actually, you split it up pretty well. You know, got a corner, linebacker to start, and then actually went more offensive now I'm thinking about it. Steve Avila, and then the trio of wide receivers, Tyler Steen, and then a linebacker and tight end towards the end. So excited for the April mock draft already because I'll have 120 more draft profiles done by then. But draft season is just getting started. Janet's got a lot to do in free agency. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Check out the John Boy Media Football channel where we're putting all our draft film breakdowns. So appreciate you guys. See you on the next one. Until then, let's go Big Blue.